Welcome to this latest visit to a castle in Wales. Today, we have chosen to visit Chepstow Castle.
This enchanting fortress in Wales boasts a rich history that dates back to the 11th century, when it was first constructed by the Norman invaders. Building was started in 1067 by Earl William Fitz-Osbern, close friend of William the Conqueror.
William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy and King of England, was surrounded and supported by an inner circle of confidants drawn from his kinsfolk and from the leading families of his duchy.
According to William of Poitiers, writing in the 11th century, best loved of these was his oldest companion, William Fitz-Osbern, the builder of Chepstow Castle, as previously mentioned. Whatever the precise nature of the events, it was Fitz-Osbern who persuaded the skeptical Norman barons to support this adventure. It was Fitz-Osbern, too, who contributed 60 ships filled with his own men to the invasion fleet.
They had known each other from childhood, so their bond as friendship was strong. It may have been Fitz-Osbern who suggested to William that he should invade England and press his claim to be king.
Following the Battle of Hastings 1066 and his coronation as king, William richly rewarded his most loyal supporters. He granted William Fitz-Osbern the personal title of Earl and the lands of the Anglo-Saxon earldom of Hereford and extensive parts of the adjacent shires, including Chepstow.
The castle is located in South Wales, close to the border with England, which plays a significant part in its history and the ensuing battles that took place dating back to the Norman conquest of 1066.
Writing some 50 years after the events, the monk chronicler, Orderic Vitalis, recorded that the king set him up to fight the bellicose Welsh and to build castles in suitable places, and that Fitz-Osbern was a most trusted servant is confirmed by his appointment as one of 2 vice-regents of England, when the king returned to Normandy in 1067. But Fitz-Osbern was not to enjoy this powerful position for long, for on the 22nd of February 1071, he met his death at the Battle of Castle in Flanders.
After the death of Fitz-Osbern, his son, Roger de Breteuil, inherited his father's extensive estates, but forfeited everything when he participated in an attempted coup against King William I in 1075. Chepstow, along with the other estates built by Fitz-Osbern, were taken into crown ownership.
These were to remain in royal hands throughout the reigns of King William I, who died on the 9th of September 1087 from an infection after being thrown from his horse in France.
William II on the 2nd of August 1100 after being shot with an arrow while out hunting, and Henry I, youngest son of William the Conqueror on the 1st of December 1136, who before his death in 1115 awarded the lordships over to the de Clare family in 1115.
Firstly, Walter de Clare, a younger son of a powerful Anglo-Norman family, was given the lands around Chepstow.
He was an early supporter of King Stephen, but died without children around 1137 or 38. This was followed by Earl Richard de Clare, who died in 1176, leaving his estates to his son Gilbert, and then his daughter Isabel.
Isabel was made a ward by King Henry II until she married William Marshal in 1189. Chepstow was gained by William through his marriage to Isabel, and some major renovation and improvements were made to the castle. Construction of the main gatehouse and lower bailey began, followed by the middle bailey defences, strengthening of the upper bailey curtain, and the construction of the southwest tower.
These lands again passed through various members of the Marshal family after William's death in 1219, and after the death of Maud in 1248, Chepstow passed to her son, the 4th Earl of Norfolk Roger Bigod, who preceded his nephew, the 5th Earl of Norfolk, also named Roger, who inherited Chepstow after his uncle died in 1270.
It was the 5th Earl Roger then who started an ambitious building programme, beginning with the domestic accommodation in the lower bailey and the remodelling of both gatehouses.
King Edward I visited Chepstow in 1284, and work began on Martin's Tower shortly after this.
This was probably completed by 1293, and the upper story of the Great Tower extended.
Following the death of the 5th Earl of Norfolk Roger Bigod in 1306, Chepstow Castle passes back to the Crown. In 1312, Edward II granted Chepstow to Thomas of Brotherton. Edward II, who was notable for his humiliating defeat to Robert the Bruce at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314, and the gruesome manner of his murder at Berkeley Castle in 1327, by having a red-hot poker inserted into his posterior.
It was also rumoured about his sexuality and suggested that he and Piers Gaveston, the 1st Earl of Cornwall, were lovers. This may have been a reason for the choice of his execution. Horrific nonetheless, as civility was not necessarily a usual path taken in these violent times. Much repair work was carried out during this time under the careful management of Hugh the Dispenser. 1403, Thomas Mowbray Earl of Norfolk was ordered to garrison the castle against the troops of Owain de Glentor during the Welsh Rebellion, which over a 4-year period saw attacks onto castles of Ruthin, Cardiff, Abergavenny, Usk, Kidwilly, Harlech, Aberystwyth and Carnarvon, and also the town and castle of Whittington. See link above to my short video on this particular place. Despite the Welsh leader's initial threat, his advance was halted at the castle of Usk, meaning Chepstow Castle saw no action itself. At the end of the 15th century, the War of the Roses had taken place in England between 1455 and 85 between the houses of York and Lancaster saw Chepstow itself move into its Tudor period. Charles, the 1st Earl of Worcester and cousin to Henry Tudor, also known as Henry VII, was made Knight of the Garter by Henry in 1496 prior to the King's success at the Battle of Bosworth Field. Earlier to this, his marriage to Elizabeth Herbert, the sole heir to William Herbert, the Earl of Huntingdon, who died in 1491. Charles acquired the lordships of Gower, Kilvey, Crickhowell, Treator, and the previously featured Raglan. It was Charles that made the first substantial changes to Chepstow Castle in 200 years, since Roger Bigod, including the transformation of the lower bailey into a great court by modifying the surrounding buildings and the relocation of the private apartments. Charles went on to attain further lordships from the king, and on the death of William Herbert, the uncle of his wife Elizabeth, he was made Baron of Chepstow in 1504, becoming one of the most powerful men in South Wales. 1642 saw the outbreak of the English Civil War, which saw Chepstow pass between the Royalists and the Parliamentarians. It is now the responsibility of Welsh Heritage Cowdew. This brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, comment, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.